Good morning. Welcome to another bluebird day in Crested Butte. Still got plenty of fresh snow left. Nobody's been skiing what this last storm dumped. So I'm gonna get riding some steeps today, but I'm gonna get one warm-up lap in first, practice a technique that I use to warm myself up for riding steeps, and it's one that you can use to prepare yourself for riding steeps if you don't have access to them. It's something that you can do on a groomed run to prep yourself for riding moguls, trees, or more technical terrain. And I'll be changing it up towards the end and make this a little bit more advanced for you folks who do ride steeps but maybe want to improve. So today my focus is going to be a maneuver called a pivot slip. Pivot slip, I'm not actually going to be making turns. I'm going to be pivoting my board from one edge to the next. However, I'm going to try to eliminate having any actual turn shape by keeping a central pivot point, meaning my board is pivoting around the very center of the board, or actually in my case, it's going to be the very center of the space between my feet since I'm on a directional board. I'll give you a quick demonstration of these. Riding no skiers. Here we go, starting perpendicular to the slope. Got a little push pile there. Starting perpendicular to the slope. Slip, 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 slip. And there, not absolutely perfect. I think I had one. My pivot point wasn't directly under the center, but for the most part, pretty good. This is why we do this as a warm-up. Now the goal with keeping the pivot point centered here is enabling me to fit these in very, very tight spaces, such as between trees, in the middle of a chute, between moguls, etc. You see a lot of people might do something that looks a little more like this. Where the pivot point is very much just around 1 foot. If we do that, we need a wider corridor to fit our turns in. Also, you see a lot of people that are going accelerate, brake, accelerate, brake. When we get a good pivot slip dialed in, we have a more constant speed. We are constantly braking a little bit and not accelerating. So rather than having to brake heavy amounts after the acceleration period, we keep more of a cruise control happening for the speed on our board. Now I'm gonna get into a little bit more advanced pivot slip method. Oh, after a nice little cab 3 off my favorite cat track here, top International. Oh good, nobody there on the jump. A nice little 3. Alright, a little bit of riding switch. Get a steep pitch there, and now for the real deal. Getting to the steepest groomed pitch in North America. Here we are, 40-degree section of International. So when you're doing pivot slips, the goal is to constantly be shedding speed. So I recommend you do this on the steepest groomed run that you have access to. I'm very fortunate to consider Crested Butte home, and therefore I get access to the steepest groomed pitch in North America. So I'm gonna do some pivot slips here. Now that last segment up on Triangle was doing pivot slips, but without much vertical movement. Now if you wanna get really advanced here, we can blend this with that downward movement towards the edge change that I did in a previous video. So we're now going to have a down unweighted pivot slip, and we're going to be extending our legs once we've gotten to that new edge. Once again, trying to keep our pivot point as centered between our feet as we can. And we're going to keep our shoulders pointed down the fall line so that we have tension in the core that we can use to restrict more board movement than we want and to initiate the slip when we do. weighted pivot slips, if you can get the timing of that pivot and your down on weight movement, you're going to be able to fit turns almost anywhere, and you're not going to need to use that stupid jump turn that you see so many people doing in the steeps and the moguls. Ah, jump turns will wreck your knees. You want to get a little more advanced with it, start doing it switch here. Ready? Wasn't exactly centered, but really, really darn close. So this can be a fun one to film yourself doing and kind of identify if you have a leg that you tend to pivot around more or less than the other. Great way to self-identify weaknesses. Ooh, and a couple of flat spins on a good steep pitch. Certainly help to dial in your end control. Take this one down to the base. I'm feeling pretty limber, feeling dialed in with my timing, ready to go ride something a bit more spicy than international. All right, high lift is spinning again after 2 days off. I'm gonna go chase the storm's leftovers and give a little T-bar riding lesson, because none of you do it right. Thank you, sir. Thanks, go. All right. I am excited for what we might have up here today. We had a pretty good dump over the last couple days in the butte, and there was a mechanical issue with the high lift T-bar. So not a lot of this got skied out. And it's been running for about 2 hours this morning, and it's a Wednesday, so most of the town is at work. It's kind of the slower season here, no holiday traffic. And so things are not getting skied out very quickly at all. Wow, I can see some of the stuff on the side of the T-line here. Looking deep this point in the season. I believe our season average snowfall is about 185 inches. And here at our season midpoint, we've already got 180. So conditions up top should be great. So that being said, a little lesson for riding the T-bar. You notice the T is behind my legs, not between my legs. I don't know why you would ever put your T in between your legs. Squeezing your gonads, squeezing them family gems. We don't need any of that happening. Also, if you ride the T with another person and you happen to go down while the T is between your legs, you're gonna pull the T with you and make a very unpleasant time for somebody else. So, generally, it's best to put the T behind your hip and then also slightly below your hip. Some people will start with the T right up against their hip, and then as they're working their way up, it will ride up their back. And once they get to a steep enough spot, then it's going to be tipping their upper body forward, but not really pulling their lower body. So if you're riding a T-bar correctly, it should be right under your hip, maybe tucked under the fold of your glute, or the fold between your glute and your hammy. And you should be able to just sit your weight back onto it, go totally hands-free. I mean, I got one hand on a camera, one hand free. I'm not gonna do that forever, just in case. But you see, if you've got your weight balanced on the T correctly, shouldn't be that difficult at all. Okay, I'm getting here to the midpoint of the high lift. Oh, some of my favorite views from here. I thought, well, I wouldn't want to be a lift operator, but if I was, this would be the lift post that I would want to check, because it's probably got the best views of any lift post on this mountain. Maybe the North Face Top Shack has some pretty good ones as well. Okay, made it up the high lift. Looks like most of the traffic so far is headed towards the main head wall. So I'm gonna hang a little bit left, go more to the glades. Ooh, and there are a lot of good turns left for us in here. Ooh, that's fluffy. That is fluffy. Woo! Isn't it is Crested Butte, you will still find rocks everywhere, any day of the season. Ooh. So nice and deep in here. Real tight in the trees. And there's the half pipe gully. Let's work our way a little more left. Try to avoid some crowds here. Okay. There. Got away from people. So, I'm gonna be making some actual turns here, not just pivot slips. However, there are bumps, there are trees, there are chutes. And so I'm going to be employing the same techniques that allowed me to use a pivot slip and fit a turn in only the 154 centimeter corridor of my board, or actually slightly more than that since it's directional. I'm gonna use those same techniques. Upper body separation, keeping tension in my core muscles, and then trying to steer primarily with rotational movements rather than with an extension of a back leg. Those things are going to keep my turns fitting in small spaces, although I'm not going to be making pivot slips here. These are taking the same concepts of the pivot slip and now slowly adding some turn shape to make some real small radius turns in this steep stuff. Well, it looks pretty fresh down here, so I think this is one of the 11s below us. Let's give it a drop, see what kind of snow we find. Oh yeah, plenty steep. That was a knee-deep turn. This is the best it's been in here all season. Oh my God, 2 days of no lift accessing. The power really stacks up. Oh, the poor folks who have regular jobs. Oh gee, they didn't get to ride it. Oh, this looks great. Whew. Whew. Oh, so good. And hardly a soul to have to share it with. That's why my days off are Tuesday and Wednesday. Get all the freshies to myself. Whew. Well, that's gonna be it for today, folks. Use those pivot slips to prepare for and or improve your steeps riding. And then go find some nice steep terrain. Go make some really small radius turns. Have fun in the techie stuff. We'll catch you next week.